main reason why I wanted to come to Auckland was to see if I could get a chance to come on the podcast. It's all I dream about every day. Yeah, it's all my friends that have said they didn't enjoy it, I want to experience it for myself. My mum said to me, "Oh, ke pala'ai. Ai pala'ai, fai pala'ai." Don't be scared. If you're scared, do scared. You got to shake it off, Put the head down and straight up the guts. It's one of the golden superpowers of being a Samoan.
So you would have been through some hardships. Are there any instances that you could share at the table also?
The toughest thing that I went through was I could be the funniest man on screen, but you're behind the screen, I'm hurting just as much as the next one. I don't know who said time will heal. Maybe it did for that person that said it, but I would love to knock him out.
You and Etu have been a dynamic duo for years. Is there in the near future you guys coming together again and doing some stuff together again?
Amen.
Mandate.
Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from the 04, Windy Wally, Hurricanes territory. He is an amazing man, amazing story to share, but also an amazing journey thus far. The man is a stand-up comedian, also a New Zealand actor, but also you hear the familiar voice on the radio, on the airwaves, on Radio 531 PI, on the show Island Time. And so the man has done a lot of shows, a lot of comedy shows up and down the Aotearoa New Zealand, but also international as well. 2017, he did his premiere, his first solo show called I Can't Believe It in New Zealand, Aotearoa in Auckland, and also in 2020, the man was in a feature film, Take Home Pay, but also in 2021, the man had another show, Sorry About It, which was part of the New Zealand Comedy Festival, and he toured around nationally up and down the country. But also the man is quite entrepreneurial. The man has his own company called Three Sons, and has been extensive, worked with a lot of young people extensively for many years. And so the man also has holiday programs for our Pacifica boys as well. So what was it, Tofiga, the name of the Wa'olea. This is me, which focuses on well-being and also identity, but also you'll recognize the man who is one half of the comedy duo, the Laughing Samoans. And yes, you've guessed it, we have him right in our midst, the one and only, one of the funniest men alive. Put your hands together for the man himself, Tofiga Fepulea'i!
Yeah. Man, what an intro. That's it. That's it. We're finished. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, also, no, thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it, also. But I think you should just start the ball rolling, also, because it would be cool to maybe get you to introduce yourself in terms of your ngu'u, your village, and also your mum and dad as well.
Yeah, well, I pretty much had in mind what I was going to say, but because we started 2 hours after we were supposed to start,
Island time.
It's great. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Born in Wellington. Mum and dad are from Samoa. Mum's village is Papasataua, Sangone, Whalealupo, and Whastouta. And dad is from Fusi Sa Fukulawhai in Saleaula. And that's where our Pulea'i comes from. So, it's great to be here on the show. And, I've seen it on Instagram and stuff, and some of the, my friends have been on here. And it's good to know that I was sort of like last on the list.
you were first on the list. But also, it is. We're really excited to have you on. And we thought, man, Tofiga, obviously you're a big name across the board in terms of stand-up comedy, in terms of film, radio, and obviously not just New Zealand, Australasia, worldwide. You've been to America, Hawaii, and all the different states and different countries. Also, tell us, why are you here? Because you're in Tamaki Makaurau at the moment. Obviously, you got a new show coming up, but is there anything that you can kind of share with us that is kind of brewing, or anything new that you're up to in this far? Yeah,
so we're here this Friday. We've got my niece's wedding. The niece, we've been waiting for this wedding and praying for a long time. And this Kaylee is was sort of like to my mum. It was like her own granddaughter, so it's going to be a special day on Friday. Nice. Really looking forward to that. I'll be emceeing, and we've got our sons and nephews and nieces performing there as well. And then Saturday is a big night, and always nervous before our first show of a new show. So it's on this Saturday at the Kiri Te Kanua Theatre, and it's I Love You Full Speed, No Brakes. That's the name of the show. And so looking forward to that. And then I got some filming on Tuesday, so before I go back home to Wellington. But the main reason why I wanted to come to Auckland was to see if I can get a chance to come on the podcast. It's all I dream about every day. It's like, man, when am I going to be on the podcast, man? Everyone else, all my friends, that have said they didn't enjoy it, I thought, I want to experience it for myself, So, but it's good to be here, yeah.
Oh man, awesome. It is obviously you're a household name. I know a lot of our father, our families, and even obviously ourselves, in terms of the Laughing Samoans. And so also because what's it been like in terms of the comedy and in terms of the performing arts and the creative arts? What kind of got you into this? Obviously, people have heard the story, other stories, but for you, from the horse's mouth, in terms of comedy, what's the fire under the belly? What makes you like, man, I need to do this?
I think it's because it goes way back as a kid. It all started from being in Sunday school, doing White Sunday, and enjoying performing. Because our church is quite a big church, so when doing stuff and you hear laughter, it's like, man, I like that sound, And then, the more I just, became myself in that, there was more laughter, off stage as well. And I thought, oh, man, I really enjoy seeing people smiling, and things like that and laughing. So, it was just something, and I think I get it off both my mum and dad. My mum, she was hilarious, eh? She was a real funny joker. Dad's timing was quite good, with his jokes. And they had, and I loved the relationship my parents had because they were quite lovey-dovey with not many people saw it, but I saw it growing up, and I just loved that. And in my mum's family, most of them are all a bunch of jokers, they're real entertaining, great musicians and things like that. So entertaining and sort of, putting smiles on people's faces was something that I just love doing, something I grew up with, and also really looked up to people that my older cousins and uncles and that they were, quite entertaining as well. So, but getting into it was, I was working for and going to university at the same time. I don't know why I decided to go to university, but I was going there, the university, and had a part-time job at a place called Quitline, quit smoking. And so I was a quit advisor there. But at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm going to varsity and I'm doing this job thingy-majiggy. But there was something missing, that in my heart that I really wanted to do. I didn't really know what it was until I sat down my wife now, who's one of my girlfriends back. Who's my only girlfriend. I was lucky to have a girlfriend. So we spoke about it, and I said, I really want to give comedy a go. It's something that just telling me, give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, at least I still got varsity in my job. So, she said, why don't you give Eti a call? And me and Eti related, and he was the only person I knew that was on the scene. He was doing pop comedy, and stuff like that. He did his own dramas and stuff we used to go and watch as a kid. And so I just said, asked him, said, if you got a show, I'll just 5 minutes, if possible, I just want to, at least I can say, okay, I gave it a go. If I was good, cool. If not, then don't tell anyone. And so we did, long story short, Ete had a show called Laughing with Samoans. And there was another guy named James Nokise, who I continue to still do shows with now. Now, the history with James Nokise is that his dad was in my dad's, was it groomsman, best man. And his granddad baptized me at down PIPC Newtown in Wellington. So there's a bit of history there, right? And so linking up again with James, who's Welsh Samoan, you know, was really good. And on the night, the way the show went was I emceed, then James would come on, and then I MC again, and then Ete finishes off with his set. And we did it on the night, and I remember we had our first meeting, and when we turned up, Ete came with his laptop, and James had a notebook, and I only turned up with my Ili, my fan. I was like, I feel like, I think I'm, you know, way too deep in this now, and I don't think I really know what I'm doing. You know, when you're doing comedy at church in front of your family, they're always going to laugh because it's your family, you know. Even when it's not funny, they're like, feel sorry for me. So this time people were paying money for tickets, so, you know, it was quite, I was really nervous, hey. And the way that these guys prepared, I thought, man, I've got to do something about my material. But long story short, we had the first show, it was sold out. And I got even more nervous because now they're all these strangers, the public are paid tickets. I've never done a show where people were paying money to come and watch. So lights went out, I came on, and I was only supposed to go on for about 5-10 minutes. But after I cracked the first joke, man, I heard the crack of laughter. Man, honestly, it was something I never experienced before, where I felt like time had froze. And I was like, for me, it was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. You know, that's my calling, you know. So we went from 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And Ete's on the side going, this is my show, mate. What's happening? So, that night I would never forget. It was back in 2013, the Fringe Festival. And, what an experience. And that's what really made me decide, you know, while I was working in varsity, okay, in order for me to go full blast, you know, I've got to leave varsity and just, you know, trust in God that, you know, this is the path that He wants me to go. So not only was it entertaining, at first it was entertaining, you know, entertaining people, but then as I did more shows and started to realize, you know, the talent, the gift to be able to make people laugh, that's when I realized it's a ministry. You know, it's not just about going out there and doing shows, making money and, you know, it wasn't about the fame or anything. It was about continuing that ministry and trying to be in a place where I can make the most of the opportunity to continue to share laughter. So that's where we pretty much started. And from then on, you know, you got all, you know, everything, the rest is history now. Jeez. And, but yeah, man, what a journey it's been. And this is the highlight, being on this podcast. You know, you come here, we've got these stale chips, stale potato chips.
Plastic chips.
Where I have tea with just milk in it, you know. So, you can't beat it, you know. You just can't beat it, mate.
Oh, that's crazy, Tofiga. So you said that was your calling. So obviously it was a vocation. But did you have anything? Obviously you said uni and you at your work. But was there anything else that you aspired to attain or do prior to you realizing this is my calling?
Well, the thing is, I'm being an only child, and my dad's family, he comes from a family where a lot of them are church ministers or, you know, musicians in churches, you know, whaipesi. So a lot of dad's family, and mum's family as well, every time they would come over, you know, they had a genuine love, but at the same time, they felt for my parents like, only one child, you know. They said, you know, we believe God wants Tofiga to be, you know, a minister, you know, to go and preach the word, spread the word of God. And I've heard that all the time as a young kid, and I was like, you know, I thought it is nice, but man, I just didn't feel like I could be in that mode. But being able to do what I did and then to grow as a man as well, you know, to get married, be blessed with kids, and to understand more about life, I started to realize, in a way, I'm spreading the word of God through what I do, you know. And, you know, it says in the word in the book of Psalms that, you know, laughter is medicine for the soul, you know. So for me, I also felt like I was a doctor. So, you know, it was, you know, I guess the greatest thing for me was knowing that my parents were really proud, especially my dad, because he's staunch e whakasa, you know. And then my dad would say, you know, you know, make sure that, you know, you know, I want to ngalul me nga so, you know, karingi me le kua. So, so remembering that stuff, that, every time I stand on stage, it's not just to entertain, but it's also, I'm taking my parents with me, I'm using a gift that God has blessed me with, so make the most of it, So I never thought of doing anything else. People would say, oh, you should be a model, things like that. I didn't want to be part-time model, and, things like, oh, you should do, like a marathon runner or something like that. Oh, I don't really feel like it today. So for me, I just really enjoy talking, putting people on smiles, putting smiles on people's face. So once I realized what I felt, what was my calling from God, I just never looked back from there.
Yeah, my Lord levels.
Was that tough also, like in terms of like, growing up in a traditional family, a traditional church background, you're almost going against the mold, especially when people have this perception of what you should be. Like, was it tough for you in the early stages to follow your dream? And was there much pushback or heaps of whaikakala saying, he's not going to make heaps of money doing that?
Yeah, it's really funny because I guess that's where my faith grew as well. Was, for me, I believed that was my calling. So really it didn't matter what the outside noise was. And, I always share about it with my parents. I was always blessed because my parents supported me. With every now and then they would try and throw little things to see if I would, go, where they wanted me to go. But, they would always support me. And so, and because my mum, she's such a typical staunch Samoan woman, she's one of those that she was fearless in where if she wanted to do something or if she had something that needed to be said, she'd do it. She'd say it. So for me, it was like, no, this is my thing, and I was growing up as Samoan. I always realized we're such a community of people, with our village. We're always, loving on all our family and stuff. But at the same time, sometimes we tend to not do what we believe we need to do for ourselves because we're worried about what our family are going to think. And then it's not till later down the track you realize, I should have just done it in the first place, and so for me, I learned how to not worry about whether people think, oh, he should have gone to Mailua or, I didn't worry about that because, I think I look at where I am now in terms of, as a father and things like that, I think, I could have gone down the road that would maybe have made mum and dad happy or my family happy, but it wouldn't have made me happy. So, and I think it's really important as a father that when I'm talking to my kids, that they can see that I feel what I'm talking about, that I'm not just saying something just for the sake of, you have to do this because, leiva e meka ko ainga, our family are looking at us, our church is going to... So it's, I need to live what I say to my kids, so, but yeah, no, it can be tough, and sometimes we can get caught up in wanting to do what we want to get acceptance, to be, oh, you're a good boy, good, you did this, but for me, it's, I got to do what's right for me, what I feel is right. And if I'm wrong, then I learn quick, and hopefully pray and hope that my family is still there to support me to, but yeah, no, I'm happy that I didn't do I better do this because everyone's expecting me to be go to Malua or do this and that, so, but yeah.
That's awesome. Man, that's so cool. And just thinking about the role of expectations and pressure, especially as a father to 3 young boys, do you see that sort of expectation weigh on young people's minds differently compared to yourself growing up?
Can you ask the question again? I'm trying to get the salt from the stale chips.
For the, you mentioned expectations, and sometimes, we tend to do what other people expect us to do to feel accepted. And as the father of 3 young boys, do you see that same pressure on your boys?
I think my wife and I were very quite similar in the way we think and also the way we were brought up. So in terms of our kids' expectations and things like that, we're always, the key is communication, eh? The key for us is to communicate with our kids so we know our kids as well as we can know them. So we will know whether they're not feeling well or, things are happening in their lives where we can really, talk about stuff. Things like anxiety and all that. We talk about some of the lessons that mum and dad taught, like for me, like my kids would ask, are you nervous, Dad, about a show? I said to them, yeah, I'm always nervous. But the one key thing that my mum said to me, said, awa ke pala'ai. Ai pala'ai, whai pala'ai. Don't be scared. If you're scared, do scared. Do it scared. And what my mum was saying was, you're never going to realize what it's going to be like until you do it. So if you're scared, you're probably going to go do it, and then you realize, this is easy. No, that's not that bad. I can actually do it better next time. So for us, it's such a key to be able to have that connection with our kids, where if our kids feel nervous or there's something that's happening, they can sit down and say, oh, Mum, Dad, I'm feeling this about this exam or and stuff like that, because we understand, especially now with a lot of the language like mental health and anxiety and all that stuff. And we explained to them, said, growing up, we never saw any anxiety or mental health of Mum and Dad. And it's because of their generation, it was just shake it off. They just did it, and they would always knew that there were certain things you just have to do, no matter how heavy the burden was with family stuff or things happening at church or in the village. They knew, I've got to look after my son, so this is what I have to do. Got to wake up every morning, go to work, So me seeing that growing up is the same, just trying to make our kids understand, even though it's different, the world that they're growing up in now, but in the same way, it's the same. So, that's where I think it's really important that just always talking to your kids, always talking, and sometimes it's just listening, so their kids feel, oh man, I think Mum and Dad actually understood, or, because I grew up when it was okay, always, we grew up in a generation where you're better to be seen than heard, so every time we got told off, we couldn't sort of like renegotiate or, say, can you, I think in my mind, you couldn't discuss stuff, and I think it's, it's different now, and so it's taking the good from what we learned and sharing that with our kids, and then also learning other ways as well, because our kids have been brought up in a different, when they go to school now, it's different. The messages and all that sort of stuff. So it's trying to navigate through that stuff. But we try our best. There's no textbook to how you can, should parent in this way and that way. Because all my 3 kids, they're the same, but they're different. So it's knowing that, one mold that works one way of talking to my oldest boy is going to be different to my middle son and my youngest one. And it's just having that patience, having that patience with our kids. Because, very easy. Very easily the temper comes out, and then we say things that we can never take back. So, there were some things that, for me, when I was growing up, I would rather get a hiding than get the lecture, Because Mum and Dad would put words in there, it was like, you could feel it 5 years later, you remember it in your head and the way you made them feel, stuff like that. So it's, But hopefully that answers your question, bro. I think I'm going on the...
No, that's cool. That's really interesting. And even just that last point you're talking about with, sometimes you'd rather get the hiding than the lecture. do you ever sometimes just randomly think about those times where, you got a lecture, but you remember why you're getting the lecture? Like you did something so bad or so naughty or whatever, and then got the lecture from mum and dad?
Well, that's the thing, is sometimes my dad's lectures made no sense. The reason why I got told off. I mean, I use it in my shows every now and then. Sometimes it's like, it's like his lectures will go on and on. I'm like, just punch me in the face, man. Just, don't worry about the lecture. You're confusing me more. But it was just one of those things growing up. But the thing is, understanding was, as well, as I grew up, my parents disciplined me the way they did. That's because that's the only way they knew how. So the sasa and the lecturing and that. And so, for me, it was like, okay, now that I have kids, I'm not going to, do it the way my parents did. I'll close the windows and pull the curtains. Because the laws have changed now, and noise travels, so you have to be careful. There's a lot of Karens around now. That's why you tint your windows in your car and you just bingy them inside the car. But it's just taking the good from my experience, and also taking other stuff that I learned growing up, mingling with other people's cultures, So it's that sort of stuff. It's but man, fatherhood's the best, because you're always learning, Always learning, bro. But yet when things happen, like kids, when they pass exam or, they do well in a sport or a game, just the little things, a certificate, and then sharing that with your child, man, that's what's like, man, this is the best, No money or anything can sort of give you that sort of joy, to see your kids really happy.
That's awesome. Awesome. I really resonate with a lot of what you're saying. I feel like it's like a masterclass for parenting because, we grew up in a generation where it was okay and hidings and you never talk back. So it's easy to, I guess, parent that way as well. And so we're learning on the fly around, man, things need to change. And I probably, with my eldest, I'm like, learning late and how to communicate and sort of unlearn some of the stuff that I was parented, and but for hearing you also and just the way, just some of the gems that you've just shared with us, like, was it something that you always had in your mind before you had kids? Like, this is how we're going to do it different, or was it like trial and error, or just speaking with your wife, we're going to do it, or learning from others in your conversations?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything. Sometimes when you're having kongha'i and your family's talking, you hear something that's like, oh, I'm going to try that, with my kids. But me and my wife, and especially her being my first and only, we shared heaps. I mean, we first met when I was only 15 and she was 22. Oh. She was my teacher. Jokes.
I mean, this guy's a man, you're the man.
So, we met at high school. So the funny thing is, because we went to the same church as well, we knew each other really well as friends first. So when it got to a stage where we knew, we want to be together, and we'd talk a little thing. Do you think our first child's going to look like you or me? You start talking about things like that, and also just the way we were raised too. We shared about stuff and talked about, if we get the opportunity, it's one of the blessings, man, is to be able to have a child. So we wanted to make the most of it. Our first son, when he was born, we only had him for 4 years before we had our second one. So it's, for 4 years we were learning with our oldest boy. And obviously he hardly touched the ground because everyone wanted to see him. And, and spoil him. And then when we had the second one, it was like, oh, yeah, we just let him run around, and and then the third one, he just looked after himself. So it was trial and error, like I remember the first night that my wife and baby and Rana came home. I stayed up the whole night, because I kept hearing the stuff about cot death, and, and I was like, oh, nah, not on my watch, So, it was that sort of stuff. When the second one was born, I didn't stay up the whole night, on the first night, because we started to learn stuff, started to realize, and realize, it's no good trying to overthink some things, and you just got to believe in it, and believe in yourself, and you're doing the right thing. And so, it's trial and error, eh? But the way we did everything is, for me, is I did it the way, my mum would always say to me, whatever you do in life, hafi feel it male alofa. Everything you do, you wrap with love, so that's exactly the same way that we do everything in life, but especially with our kids. If we're going to we okay with love and make them understand why we're telling them off, and why, they couldn't go to rugby training or couldn't play this Saturday or things like that. It's just making them understand. As for when I was growing up, I got told off, but sometimes I didn't understand what I was getting told off for. So, I'll tell you.
Cool. It's awesome.
Mano, love. So it is very interesting, Tofiga. Obviously, people see you as the public figure, the comedian, the stand-up comedian, and also the actor and the entertainer. Also, and we're talking about mental well-being. And so I'm just wondering, because people always assume when they see you, oh, he's funny, he's always happy, he's going to crack a joke. But and I'm just assuming, and I can guarantee that there were times in your life where, man, this is not funny anymore. There would have been hard times. Just wondering also, I don't know, maybe if you could share some of those stories, because people think, oh, they just pigeonhole you. Nah, that's the funny guy. He's the comedian. But you're a human being, and so you would have been through some hardships and some struggles also. Are there any instances that you could share at the table also?
Yeah, but man, what you see on screen is exactly that. That's for the screen. That's for the stage. That's for the podcast. But behind, when the cameras are off and there's no lights on and no crowd, I hurt like any other human being. And go through stuff, like anyone else. The toughest thing that I went through was losing my parents. I remember I lost my dad just in the second week of COVID. So you had all the lockdowns and stuff. They keep changing the rules. You can see him, you can't. By the time that we were going to bury my dad, they said that if he gets buried at a cemetery, no one can go. And so, and if he gets cremated, only one person can be there. So it was dealing with that stuff. So we couldn't really mourn the loss of dad because, initially because we have to deal with all the laws and, and what was happening. But it was good in some ways too, because it meant that Dad got cremated. We didn't have to have the big, whasamoa funeral. People were still breaking the law, coming to our house, giving us kiokusis, showing their love, But we could grieve Dad after that because we were still in lockdown, we were still with Mum. And, so that process was good. We didn't have to worry about hosting people and, worry about this and that, if people were going to get back home safely and from the maliu, from the funeral. So that was hard. And then a year later, my mum passed away, so that was tough. But the way I did it with my mum was when mum passed away, we buried her on Friday, and then I did a show on Saturday. And at the time, management was saying, "Do you want to cancel the show?" I said, "No. If I stay home, then I'm just going to kangi all day, and I need to get out on stage and just continue with life. Because if there's one thing I know about my mum, it was just you got to shake it off, put the head down and straight up the guts." So I did it, you know, I performed on Saturday. And I remember before going on there half an hour before, man, I was just ganging in the change room, and I remember James coming in and said, "You're right," you know, just checking up. And man, I was a wreck. But then 5 minutes before going on stage, I had to go and wait for James' announcement to bring me on. I remember standing there, and I could feel my parents, you know, and then when getting ready to go on stage, it was like, this is continuing my parents' legacy, you know. And the reason why I can go out on stage is because of my mum and dad. So going out on that show, I remember it was in Dunedin, and I went and did that show, and when I went out there, man, I felt, man, I want to smash everyone in this venue, you know. I'm just going to give it everything. And like my mum said, you know, I would have pala'ai, you know. Pala'ai, fai pala'ai, and I went out there scared, not knowing what was going to happen, you know, and still grieving my mum. And yeah, after the show, it was just a massive relief thing. And it was all part of dealing, you know, part of me with my grief, and that, you know, really helped me therapeutically, yeah. So, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that even though I'm out on stage, for me, it's therapy to be able to go out and do that, you know, because I could have had a hard week, but then when I see people laugh, it's like, oh, see, still, you know, I'm still, you know, there's a purpose in life, and I got to live for that, you know, to continue to do that. So, but yeah, that was the toughest time, and it's still tough now. I think a lot of people underestimate grief, because you think, oh, you know, time will come, you'll get over it. There's no getting over it. And then it gets to a stage where it just pops out of nowhere. You know, before you could sort of like, okay, go through somewhere where there'll be a trigger because that's where you ate with mum and dad, or this is something that you did as a young kid. And then there'll be times you drive past, you don't kangi. And then sometimes you'll be getting ready to stand up to do something, and then it just hits you there. So it's being able to deal with it, you know, and just making sure that, you know, you're good, that I'm good, you know. And for me, I'm really blessed to have my wife, have my kids, you know, because I'm really close family, you know. They know when I'm not feeling good. So, yeah, no, it's just one of those things, eh? And, but yeah, I could be the funniest man on screen, but you're behind the screen and off stage, you know, I'm hurting just as much as the next one, you know.
Man, my Lord love also. Yeah.
I think the stale chips making my eyes cry.
But I totally agree also. You're right. I think people say when you grieve, that time will heal. But the grieving process, it's always there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who said time will heal. Maybe it did for that person that said it, but I would love to knock him out.
What's your thoughts? Because, you know, Islanders, or especially Samoans, we always like laugh about everything.
Yeah,
like even in a serious moment, sometimes in like even through pain, we laugh through it. What are your thoughts, especially when people that are not part of our culture and they look at it and they go, "Why are they laughing?" What are your thoughts around why we do that?
I think that's what I love about being Samoan. That's the one thing I love about being Samoan. You know, people from other cultures, like, man, they don't know anyone else that can take the mickey of their own people like Samoans. You know, that's the reality, you know. Yeah. And that's just the way we are. You know, being in Samoa, you know, there's a lot of, you could say, you know, we're not well off, you know, families don't have heaps of money. But man, they're happy people. My family in Papsakaua, they don't have much. But, you know, I mean, they live off the plantation and all that stuff. But, man, that's one thing that keeps them going, you know, it's the humour. You know, and that's where I believe, you know, I got my humor from my granddad over in Papsakaua. And, but it's just us, you know. As Samoans, we laugh. You know, you can go to a movie and there'll be a really, like, romantic part or, you know, someone just died or something. And you'll hear this laughter. And the Palangis are like, who the hell is laughing? This guy just died, you know. But Samoans just laugh out of it stuff, you know, physical humour, all that sort of stuff. You know, a guy and a girl will kiss, and if you got a whole bunch of Samoans, you hear this, and a kiss, you know. It's just the way I love it, you know. You could be hungry and you end up laughing for a whole hour, if you are, you know. I don't know what it is, bro. But that's one thing I love about being Samoan. You know, it's just, everything, you know. The way we perform, we're always smiling, you know. You gotta laugh. I think it's really important, and I think it's a lesson we can learn too, and also continue to teach our kids. No matter what in life, take time to laugh. You know, have a bit of a laugh. You know, don't take life too seriously. You know, but it's one of the golden superpowers of being Samoan. Is, you know, we just laugh at times when, you know, anyone else would just break down, and you know, and we just. Yeah. I mean, you go to a funeral and you think, this is a comedy show. So, you know, when people are doing testimonials, you know, when mums and their parents, you'll be sitting there, why are they laughing? Someone just died. But it's one of the ultimate things I love about being Samoan.
That's awesome. And I say that because I remember, because, you know, when you're amongst others, we all understand and we're just cracking up and everyone just, you know, adds on to the laughter. But I remember going to a mainstream Bible college. It was there was only a minority of us that were islanders, and so everyone else was like Palangis. But we all went on one table, but we were always laughing. But at times it was seen disrespectful, and you'll get in trouble for it. And then people will look at you and go, "Why are these guys?" But we're always laughing, either telling a joke or just trying to egg each other on, and sometimes you felt bad about it, and you're like, man, why are they looking at us for? But it's part of who we are, and I couldn't explain at that time, like, what was, like, why we do that. I remember getting told off. I was sitting at the back, and the person made me feel like an idiot, like, why are you laughing? Get a job. I was going, they treat me like a little kid. I'm 30-something.
It's one of those things, too, that a lot of... I guess teachers in classrooms, coaches who coach our kids, or you know, I think that's one of the things that they've, you know, through years that they've started to realize, you know, they're just different. You know, the whole humor thing, and they're starting to understand it a bit more. You're starting to realize, oh no, it's not disrespectful. They just, I don't know what it is, but it's, you know. But because a lot of coaches, you know, are now starting to realize, you know, the way you teach, you know, these kids is different to the way you would teach, you know, Pacifica kids, you know, in the way that, but I remember what it was like in classroom, man. I remember getting kicked out of classes, you know, trying to make people laugh, or just to try and change the focus because I didn't know what the subject was about. So that's not, when it's not a good thing. You know, trying to make people laugh and you end up not learning, and then coming, you have to do these podcasts. who are mucking around in class as well.
I remember my report was always always easily distracted, never figures class, has potential, class clown, teachers like you.
I love that you mentioned that though, because I honestly, humor, like food for me, is one of the best ways to connect with people, and especially with the students. Like, they love to have a laugh, and just because we have a laugh doesn't mean we're not working hard when the time comes, or that we're not learning, but it's just an awesome way to connect with someone's spirit, with who they are, what they bring to the table, where they're from, all that sort of stuff. Like, I love humor in that way where it can just connect people. Like,
and I think you need to know your class too, the kids that you're working with. If you've got a whole bunch of kids that would rather just have the message straight, then that's how you teach it. But when you've got a whole bunch of kids that, you know, attention span is short, and when you have humor, they learn more through having a laugh at the subject and what you're talking about than if you were to say, okay, read pages 1 to, you know, But yeah, I was one of those. My attention span was terrible, you know. But I always, you know, found a laugh in something. Yeah, but
Your comedy, like, there's no real like malice behind your comedy, but you know, is there? I'm assuming you're like a real good mocker or like roast people.
yeah.
Is there? Do you reserve that for your close ones or?
so my family knows, especially my close family. Sometimes my close family say, "Man, you know, we love your shows, but you would really blow up internationally if you just did all your stuff you do in the whalekawale and the, you know, if you did all your adult material that you talk about." And it's funny because, you know, when you're with the boys and all that, you know, it's different. And the thing, the stuff that you see on stage, and that's the way I was brought up. Whalohalo's key, you know. And the success of my comedy has been through that sort of like blueprint, and where we've got grandparents coming, we've got grandkids, you know, a whole family can come to a show. And I wouldn't change it any other way. You know, all the other stuff, my close family know me. So that if I do those, you know, out of it jokes, you know, people wouldn't take it like, oh, he's changed, you know. My family know, oh, that's been Tofiga since he was young, you know. But people know that the way that I write my material and for my shows and that's because of my love for family, the way that I was brought up. And the way I do it is like, man, if my kids can't come to the show or my parents wouldn't attend because of what I'm talking about, then it's not worth doing. You know, all the other stuff in the whalekawale, that's just between me and my cousins, you know, and my brothers, and I can say those jokes or say, you know, those things because they know who I am. They know where it comes from. You know, if someone had a camera and recorded, you know, some of the out of it jokes and that we talk about, you know, and put it up, and they'll be like, oh no, he's changed, you know, and all that. It's like, you know, just the way I am. Just the other Tofiga when I'm relaxed and I'm in my comfort zone with my family, you know.
And it's safe.
Yeah,
you know,
and
it's
safe.
not gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's been that's the blueprint. In terms of your success also, because it is family. It's a family gathering. People can come, a family show. People can come, and I can imagine if it was quite vulgar or RET. And you see a lot of comedians now, and in the past. And for many years, I've been kind of using cussing and swearing and vulgar obscenities, but you don't do that. And the cool thing about it is because, like you said, you just mentioned it. That's not who you are. Respect, and that's kind of been your success. But has there ever been a time where you felt when you've gone into it and you've done your routine and you felt there was a tough crowd also? Has there been like, man, this crowd is a tough crowd, man. These guys are not budging. They're not getting the jokes. Have there ever been moments like that where you think, oh my gosh?
Don't get me wrong, you know, as a comedian, it's like anything in life. You know, you can ask any professional. There have been times that they've had bad days. And I remember I went into a principals event. It was a college principals. And I was doing all the material to them now. And I felt like grabbing the mic stand and just whacking them in the... yeah, man, I was laughing at my own jokes. That's how bad it was. It was like, and the funny thing is, you know, and then we had lunch with the principals. They were like, "Oh, that was fantastic! I loved it." I was like, "You could have laughed, mate," you know. But you have those moments, but you know, the thing I love about it is you have to build the attitude like, "Oh, okay." Next time, I want to come back next time, you know. For me, if you were to stay down after getting knocked down, then, man, you can get nowhere in life, you know. It's just one of those, it happens, man, you know. And that's what I love about doing it is sometimes the funniest shows for me are the ones where people don't laugh. Or they don't laugh where I thought they're going to laugh at, and then they laugh at something else, you know. But it is what it is, man. You know, I mean, I'm just... I'm really thankful it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's just, wow. If I had stopped at that one, then I wouldn't have been, you know, continued to do, I wouldn't have done Take Home Pay, I wouldn't be on Fresh TV if I had some, because this was before that. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, if you were to play rugby and you missed one tackle and then you gave up because of that, you know, or because you lost a game, you know, And I think it's that resilience you want to keep teaching your kids too, eh? You know, say, hey, don't worry about that one mistake. Just learn from it, know, and, you know, come back. But yeah, I've had this moments.
Because I can imagine also, because there'll be a lot of people who have obviously watched your material and watch you. Think, oh man, I think I can emulate Tofiga. I think I can give it a go. I think what's your kind of advice for some budding young comedians? Think, oh, I'm going to do this. What do you think they should know or ought to know when they kind of get into the scene or the industry, so to speak?
And if you want to get into comedy, just give it a go. It's one of those things where you're never going to know until you try it. Because you can be funny at kongai. You can be funny when you're hanging with your boys in the garage. But you'll never know unless you actually go out in public and try it. There's heaps of open mic, you know. We've really been fortunate where in the way we've done our shows and stuff, we've never had to go through the bars and all the comedy festivals and stuff. You know, we've had our niche market and it just grew from there. So, but there's heaps of ways you can give it a go. But you'll know quick, you know, if this is where you should go down. If you go and people are like, the first night, you know, they laughed a little bit, and then the second night they start throwing things at you. That's when you feel, maybe that's not for me, you know. But and I guess like anything else that you want to give a go, man, you just got to surround yourself with good people, eh? You know, people that will support you, give you the real advice, what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And people that will make sure they put their hands up before you hit rock bottom to help push you back up. So those are the key things, really.
Awesome. Have there been, like, I've seen it in some of the comedians, they say obviously people are taking some of their jokes, and other comedians saying, "Oh, that's my material when you took this and that." In terms of New Zealand comedy, is that true for some of the comedians in our shows, or?
I really don't know. It's funny. It's not that I don't want to mingle. It's to say I don't know the other comedians. The comedy I do is I just think of a show, advertise it, and if you want to come. You know. I don't know of any beef between other comedians in New Zealand. And I think the whole way that my material, like people say, man, you know, your material, you don't cuss and all that, as you mentioned. But because I grew up in an era where we had good comedy shows, man. You know, we had Bill Cosby, you know, we had Different Strokes. My uncle used to keep me up late at night to watch Benny Hill. You know, especially just like 11 o'clock at night.
What's the song again?
You know, so, you know, the comedy shows are, you know, man, my favorite was Different Language. Oh, no.
Different Strokes?
Different Strokes was a Mind Your Language.
Oh, Mind Your Language.
So this is a classroom of people trying to learn how to speak English from different... Oh, bro. If you thought Uncle Sam was funny, it's like a whole classroom of Uncle Sam's, man. You got Mind Your Language. You go watch this stuff.
Mind Your Language.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was never crude. All this comedy was never crude. It was just witty, eh?
Yeah.
And I really loved the British humour, you know, the UK humour. You know, things like you got Mr. Bean. He doesn't have to say anything. You know, so it's that physical stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the stuff that I grew up on. Billy T. James, you know, Bekelo and all that.
Yeah.
So, but now the stuff you got on now, it's different,
Yeah.
you know. And you know, it's funny, but it doesn't hit me the way that the old shows used to. So, but yeah, I forgot what your question was.
Oh no, you answered it. But tell us, because we were at the table. So, have there been an instance where you've been on a show or a tour, and you said, "Man, how did this guy's not even funny, or this person's not even funny"? If you come across some comedians like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, what I think is funny, maybe someone else, you know, doesn't think it's funny. But there have been times when people have opened up, you know, like I remember there was one time we went to Guam, and there was an MC that got up, man, first 2 minutes, cracked it, and I thought, wow, man, this guy's the man. And then he just went on this whole way. just went this other way. And, I was like, and the thing that really got me was my son, who was, he was young then. Even he said, Dad, this guy sucks. And I was like, son, you're not wrong there, mate. And the crowd started walking up to go and, get their food and stuff while he was doing his set. And I thought, man, but I thought that's a good setup for me. Because if he's not funny, I don't have to try so hard, But you do get that. But, when you're overseas, I don't really judge him because I don't know what the humour is like there, because I've been asked to come and say maybe what he's saying is funny to them. But you just read it from the crowd, eh? And so, but yeah, there have been times, and I'm sure there have been times when people thought, oh, this guy figures not funny, But who cares, man? I still love doing what I do and just get out there and do it.
Awesome.
And I'm curious about the, because there's being naturally funny and being able to deliver a joke, but then there must be an art to writing humour as well. Can you speak a little bit about in terms of developing your writing skills? Like how much of it is writing versus observing something and then just delivering thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the way I write is a mix of both. So throughout the year, there'll be things that I just think of and I just put on my kirfongi, just short. And then when I have time, I'll go back to it and work on it and say, oh, okay, we'll grow it, from 2 sentences to a paragraph. But I'm sure there's a lot of technical terms for how you write, comedy and all that. For those who went to, I don't know if there's such a thing as a comedy school or a school for writing comedy. But for me, like I said, my drama school was White Sunday, Sunday school. So there was no, all it is that you look for that laughter, find out what you think is going to bring that laughter, and then you just stick with it, eh? And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, so I just stick with the way I do it, and there'll be and everything I talk about is what is my perspective, is what I see as a Samoan. So for me, I really believe I can never go wrong because I lived it. I don't talk about when I was in the Bronx. I didn't live in the Bronx. So for me, I just talk about what it's like being Samoan. If we talk about politics, then I'll talk about what my perspective is as a Samoan with politics. So I'm just talking about me, and I believe that I can, I guess, express myself as me, and people will believe it's genuine because that's who I am. I don't try and talk about anyone. Like my characters, Auntie Tala, Uncle Sam, they're people in my family, all mixed and together. Yeah. So, that's just the way I write. I don't really write stuff down, and it's just trying to keep my. If I start losing my brain, getting dementia in that, then that's when I won't be able to do any more shows, man. So, but it keeps me on my toes because I'm trying to remember stuff all the time and that. But yeah, no, there's no. Yeah, I wish I could give you some technical term for. Like say, interfastically I phrygize the way I write, and but nah, it's just palafu, man. It's just straight up palafu. Like all my family, my aunties and uncles say, So it's it's just. I think the thing I love about it is that what you see on stage, that's just me. Me as Tofiga, me as a father, as a husband, and that's all I talk about, the way I see things as a New Zealand-born Samoan.
That's cool. I like that. Thank you.
Our wives are like the biggest critics and can be our biggest supporters, but also the biggest critics. Is there be anything that your wife has been like, where'd you going?
I don't get into it. No. Some people say, oh man, your wife, she must laugh at all your jokes. I said, yeah, it's opposite, man. I'll be like, Hunt, what do you think about this? She'll be like, oh, shut up. She'll be like, I'm not your audience. I'm not paying to listen to your stupid stories. Just make sure you drop the kids off, pick them up, do their lunch, And that's what keeps me grounded, my wife, She's my rock, man. You know, and I know when she enjoys a certain joke or stuff, you know, but there's no one else I laugh more with than with my wife. But as soon as I try and test my material, bro, she just shuts down. But when we talk about other stuff, bro, we're cracking up, you know. Yeah, and you can see in some of the videos we do together, you know, just the way we are. But, you know, I try and make her look like, you know, the stronger person in there, but I'm the man. I'm the man. She knows it, you know. Yeah. But yeah, no, she's the biggest critic, but man, the ultimate supporter, man. Yeah. So I wouldn't be able to continue to do what I do now if it wasn't for my wife. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh man,
I hope she listens to that part. If you can cut that part, then just play that one. Hey, if you could just play that one, bro. My sons will have more kids and more siblings after that one. Hey?
Oh man, Tofiga. Also, I'm just wanted to ask you as well, also because you and Ete have been a dynamic duo for years. Is there in the pipeline? Is there in the near future you guys coming together again and doing some stuff together again? I don't know. Is that something that you guys are?
Yeah,
something that's in the future. Or?
A lot of people ask that. Man, the ride that I had with Laughing Samoans, you know, it was man. That's where, you know, a lot of it started. But you know, some things are best put to rest, and you know, keep it as it is. You know, and the main reason for me going solo was because we were away 30 to 40 weekends a year, and I had young kids. You know, and you know, every now and then I'll be thinking, you know, the reality is I want my kids to know me as a father, not as the Laughing Samoan guy on stage. So, and it was the best decision I made, you know, in terms of being able to have really good quality time with my kids as they were growing up, as they was joining rugby, piano lessons, things like that, you know, watching them do things at school and at church. So, but yeah, a lot of people have requested, even now, they say, hey, any chance of another Laughing Samoan? But I think, you know, that you can watch it on YouTube or, you know. But I enjoy what I do now and collaborating with you know, other artists and having the freedom to be able to say, okay, I'm spending this whole holiday with my kids and then I'll do gigs after this day. Well, you know, working it around my kids' time. But now that they're getting older, you know, who knows, you know, what could happen, you know, it might be able to travel a bit more. But yeah, I like it the way it is, you know, it's a bit more relaxed pace and I'm not as stressed you know, when I have to do my father duties as well, you know, just working it around. And you know, when you don't do it as often, you make the most of it when you do get the chance. And I like it that way, you know. I don't want to get to a stage where it feels like it's a work. Yeah, and so, yeah.
That's good, man. Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, you're right, because there was a lot of comments on the comments section. People, oh, man, Tofiga, man, you and Ete going to get together again, do another show. And so I thought, oh man, yeah, maybe, I don't know if it's in the pipeline. So hence why I asked that question. And well said, I like that. And because you're autonomous, you're able to do your own thing on your own in terms of being
Autonomous.
He was the only one. His reports were different from ours.
So when I got autonomous. He'd be waiting the whole podcast. When am I going to throw in my autonomous?
But I do, because in terms of
those trips are autonomous, man.
Because going solo and being working as a duo. What sort of, in terms of, it would have been hard for just kind of, I'm assuming it would have been hard just to do it on your own, or was it just being, that's quite easy just to go solo? Yeah,
I guess it's just different, eh? Going solo is easier in terms of setting up the timetable and everything, and you know, it's quite good too, because you don't have to worry about because when you work with someone else or with other people, you have to, you know, different dynamics too, eh? So, but being solo, it's just me, making sure I'm okay. And then the only other people I have to worry about is my family, okay? It doesn't work around, you know, my family stuff. But, yeah, and it is easy in some ways, but harder in other ways where you're your own critic when writing. you know, you're like, oh, I think it's funny, but my wife's not gonna laugh at it. So as for before, when we're doing duo or when I'm doing other stuff, writing with other people, you got feedback. You know, yeah, that's the one. You know, dude, that's funny. So but it's good also in another way where you trust in your ability more. You know, and you're knowing, oh, nah, that's good. You know, something similar was good last time. I'm sure they'll enjoy it now. And then really just like the nerves for a first show like we'll go for this week, it's just getting out there. It's the waiting now, you know, that I can't stand. I just want to get out on stage and just throw it all out there and see how it goes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Also, you've probably collabed with a lot of people. Who's been some of your favorites?
Man. Oh, wow. Man, I really enjoyed the stuff that I did with Fresh TV because we were able to collab with a lot of our Pacifica artists, you know, Pani and Pani, you know. Those cats, those two are funny, man. Also, you know, the late Yolandi, she was classic too. Everyone on there, eh? And also seeing how people were, when you look, sorry, there's one of me behind the camera, there's one of me behind the lights doing the sound, you know. It's that sort of stuff that makes you really like, you know, great to see how people, you know, not just being the ones in front of the camera, but, you know, organising everything. But yeah, there's been heaps of collabs. Feed, we did stuff. We were doing Laughing Samoas at Larger TV series. Yeah, there were some, you know, key people there. Man, been doing it for a while now, going on 2000 and... 2003, what really now? 20, over 20 years now.
Yeah, wow. 2024, yeah.
Yeah. Just over 20 years. So, it's hard to say, but every opportunity has been, you know, awesome. Collaborating with people, you know, meeting some of my favorite musicians, you know, musical artists, you know, from NFL players to all that stuff. It's you know, from people in different governments and heads of governments over in different countries and that. Just blessed and even just meeting everyday people from different countries, you know. It's the one joy of being able to do what I do is being able not just to travel but to meet some amazing people. And yeah.
Awesome. In terms of self-worth, like, you know, as Pacifica, when we get asked to do stuff, someone in your caliber, like really for the people, it's easy for people to ask you, so can you come and MC this, or can you come and do the show for our youth group? And at what stage did you probably realize, oh, this is my worth, I can't do did it ever, was it ever a tension thing for you where it's like, I can't do these stuff because it's my time? Or
yeah, because you get a lot of requests, oh, hey, I'm getting married next week, can you MC my wedding? I'm like, and you are, you know, because it's hard to MC someone you don't know, really. You know, when they say, oh, can you say something about the newlywed? It's like, first of all, I don't know who it is. You get a lot of requests, and the thing is, I grew up, everything for me started doing community stuff, whether it was church events, little community festivals, cultural festivals. So I'll never forget the roots, you know, where it started from. But, you know, you build yourself up to a stage where you can only do so many free gigs because of the time and things like that, you know, and so for me, and that's why it's really important, like for me to not stress over that stuff or to feel bad about saying no, is that we've got an awesome crew, Mila and Rosie over at and Karen K management. They look after all my stuff. So any emails I get, I flick it to them. They come back and they will say blah 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 blah, and they will give me their recommendations. They will say, this is a really good one because of this and that. They don't have a budget, but this is what I think it would be good for you to do, And so, and we would discuss it and stuff. And then at the same time, they will honestly say to me, no, don't do this. Because of the communications they've had, they realize, oh no, this is Mickey Mouse. And they're just going to, waste your time. You're going to have to spend a whole weekend away from your family and, things like that. So having good people around you to give you good advice and be able to be your soundboard, but at the same time, making sure that I have the last say. Because there might be a group there that that I really want to be a part of because of maybe the focus or the message that they're trying to deliver on that weekend. And I would just say to my management, look, can you get back to these guys? I really like to do it. And even if they come back and say, if my management come back and say, oh, they got no money, I say, well, I'm going to be up in Auckland for something else. It's all right, I'll pop in and, So it's important that I have people that can also be the good cop and the bad cop on my behalf, because you don't want to stress over, all the other stuff. And sometimes there are things that I wouldn't see because of the way I am as a person. As for management, all their concern is about me. So they'll say, oh, no, this is why you shouldn't do it. This is why we think you should, So it's good having those people around you.
That's awesome. Nice. And sorry, this was going through my head as well because, we're big fans and we've always seen you on screen and it's always been one side of you in terms of the comedy and just laughter. But meeting you, there's this other side to you, like, oh, there's a whole lot of that we don't know, but I love your perception around, like, just talking to you, like, around social injustice and around how the system is set up around Pacifica versus the rest, and and you can tell around the work that you do that you're a person that really tries to uplift our people and really want to create a pathway that we're telling our stories, that we're building our businesses, that if no one else was going to do it for us, so we got to get do it ourselves. And you've led the way. You and Ete, and especially what you're doing now, you've just been a pioneer. And I love the conversation we had off air around some of your thoughts around heaps of other stuff that people don't really get to hear about. And so there's probably no real question around it, but I just wanted to honor that.
No, I think it's also me expressing the appreciation of people that have helped me and supported me. I remember when I was starting comedy, it was the first time I met, started a really close relationship with Danny, with Brother D. And Don Reid, Danny was a huge supporter, great mentor too when I was starting up. And back then, man, Don Reid was everything, and they sort of gave me my first apparel deal, for me, any free Mickey F was like, wow, man, yeah, I made it, man. So, Don Reid, seeing them, and then seeing all their support. So, it's really important because there's not many of us, and we also know deep down in our hearts that we're our own worst enemy, we see one of us, like, if you had a Samoan store selling fruits and a Chinese store selling fruit, Samoa, us islanders will go to the Chinese because it's like, why am I going to give my money to the other islander, and lift him up, when I'm still eating, cabin biscuit, bread biscuit, so it's that's one of the things that we hope to, really extinguish from our kids' generation, to really make them understand, we've got to push each other up, when you win, we all win, it's having the, and that's why I really love the Toko Oso movement, I love the way that, we supported the Mate Matonga during, when they started, when all the boys went over to MMT, you know, and we were all waving our Tongan flags, and then when Samoa were doing well, you know, the same thing. I think we have to keep continuing that, you know, and but also while we have that whole vibe and everything, so we've got to do the same when it comes to elections, man, you know. Because now you read all the comments, we're all making a lot of noise. Oh, we're not happy with this and that. But it's like, did we really go out there and vote, you know? And it's one of those things that, you know, there are things that we just have to do to make a difference, you know, and I hope that we can, instead of always being a keyboard warrior and, you know, making heaps of noise in the background, but, you know, actually physically going out there and doing something, you know, supporting our kids. Yeah, we got these massive marches when Toa Samoan or they're out there. You know, let's do the same vibe, you know, with our kids' education, you know, get out there and push for things that need to be pushed for our kids' education, you know, sport, you know, to support them. But yeah, no, it's just, you know, one of those things, you know, as you mentioned, I think it's really important that we lift each other up, you know, rather than always trying to tear each other down, you know, and talking smack about each other and all that sort of stuff. There are ways of doing it, you know, instead of blasting it on Facebook, you know, send a private message to that person, you know, instead of going up there and where everyone else can see and, you know, just say, you know, like my mum said, you know, everything you do, afifi male alofa. You know, sometimes you just have to go for a little walk to the kitchen and have a little breather, you know, rather than going straight into it on the, you know, on the tablet or Facebook and expressing stuff there. Just gotta, yeah. But I think it's important. We have to work extra hard, you know. So you know, we've got to support each other hard, you know, as well.
That's awesome.
That's why I came to do the podcast. You know, when I saw, oh man, these guys aren't doing well. You know, I thought, I'm gonna come and support these guys.
Give him back.
Everyone's blocking these guys, man. What's happening, man? Everyone's talking smack about these guys, man. But then after having your chips, I thought, lick you off. So they give me tap water. It's all brown. The water's brown.
It's from the hose.
Oh, Tofiga. Oh, but you mentioned something that's I think is a good point also in terms of our own people. Our own people we can be our own worst enemy in terms of our people dragging us down, putting us down, kind of like the crabs. You know, the analogy of the crabs in the bucket. Also, how do we combat that? How do we, like? Obviously, we all know that most of us probably have experienced it. And maybe we've done it ourselves, but how do we combat that? How do we kind of like try to change the
thing is
the space or the mindset?
We can't change the world. You can't change someone. The change has to be within yourself, and you have to hope and pray that when people see you going to buy at the Samoan store, that they're going to go and buy at the Samoan store. You know, when they see another Samoan helping another Tongan, that they will do the same too. So you have to do it yourself. We have to change ourselves. We have to be the role model for our people, our next generation. But for us to say, oh, everyone go and change it, and then come election, you're not voting, and you're telling everyone else to go and vote, you know, it's you know, for us, we do things when we see others do it. You know, you can talk is cheap, man. You know, so I think that's all you can do, because you can control yourself and what you do. So you just be you be you. And, you know, the changes that you're willing to make, you do in your own life, and people will follow from there. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, well said.
But the more you tell someone else to change, and people are looking at you and like, you know, if you're not doing it, why should that guy there do it, you know? So, but I think it's important that we do our thing and hope and pray that others will, you know, follow and support each other. But it's you can't express or you know, talk what you call it. It's just really important that we do lift each other up. You know, I mean, you only look. I mean, even current situation with things that are happening with the new government, things like that. You know, tough times. But you know what happens with tough times is that that's where we should grow even more, you know, be tougher as well, you know, and be more resilient and be more loving, to support and help others, you know, because the tough times don't last forever, you know.
Maro love also. I tell you, man, I'm just sitting here like, because it is, you're a household name, and people, and we see you. I've even shown my kids when they were younger, and they couldn't believe, Tofiga Fepulea'i, even my family, and hey, does he come? And so also it's been a privilege, a hard privilege, even on like what Charles was saying off camera, and just having a chat with you, and very humble, and it is, you're a man of obviously many talents. Obviously, we haven't touched on your musical talents, your breakdancing, all those things that you're good at. Also, but your demeanor and who you are, and your poise and real composed, and it's just something about you. When you walk into the room, there's this respect there. Also, in terms of, because you do programs with our Pacifica boys in terms of well-being and identity, how much of that, in terms of identity, in terms of respect, do you think, or if there's any of that lacking in our young boys or young men in this day and age?
Yeah, it's different. What we've found with young ones, because for a lot of them, it's identity issues. You know, the same old. When we go to Samoa, you know, us that are born here, we go to the islands, and they call us Kiwis. You know, and then we go to school and they call us coconuts. And for us growing up, you're trying to navigate, what am I? Am I Kiwi? Am I a coconut? Whatever. So it's really, the thing I love about the programs that we do, a lot of it is on identity, but also making, you know, for our young ones to understand they have their own identity as well, being a Pacifica born in New Zealand. So it's them understanding their history as well, where they're from. I mean, we underestimated that, because one of the homework we did on the first day is that the kids would go home and they had to come back the next day to tell us, because originally when we did our intros, we said, okay, if everyone can stand up one by one, just tell us your name, your village, you know, where mum and dad come from, and whether they were born here. And there's probably 80% of the kids didn't know their villages, and they didn't know where their parents were born, here or on the islands. So it was just little things like that, you know, for our generation, everyone knew their village, and, you know, so it was good for us to understand that as well, and where things were in terms of the kids. And the biggest thing doing those programs was, for most of the kids, it was a sense of belonging, you know. They didn't really know where they were, you know, and who they were. So identity plays a massive part, and so we go through a lot of that stuff, and also just being able to, you know, because a lot of the kids is different now, where a lot of things they learn is all from tablets and, you know, devices and that, and that's where the role of a parent is more important now, because if you don't parent now, they'll be parented by these devices, you know. So they're taking advice and everything from what so-and-so said on TikTok, you know, instead of what mum and dad could, you know, the gems that we have as parents, you know. So it's trying to, you know, pass on those sort of messages and that with our kids. But then, you know, as we run programs, it's really important you have everyone on board. You can't just run stuff with the kids and then they go back to the same environment. So it's having support groups for parents as well, you know, to connect and to make, and it's not to say, oh, you're doing a bad job. It's saying, hey, how can we work together, you know, for our kids, you know, because all the kids we work with, they've got potential in heaps of things, whether it be music, business, you know, and we want to make sure that these kids tap into that potential, but also get the support to help them grow in the career pathways, you know. So it's, and I've always been passionate about young people, you know, and I think it's a testament to the way I've been brought up, where being an only child, everyone has just poured love on me, you know, and that's what's helped me to become the man that I am now. So it's hoping that we can do that with other kids. You're not going to save everyone, but, you know, you do what you can, and hopefully there'll be something there that when they do go through a hard time, they're like, I remember I learned this at, you know, the program where, you know, so it's trying to plant seeds, you know, and doing the best that we can to support families and their kids.
Man, awesome, also well said. And great work that you're doing also with our young people. Man.
Just this tap water is beautiful.
Don't need tap.
Also, man, I can't say enough. I can't say enough. Also, it's just been one of those evenings where we can just sit here all day and just listen to you and you make us laugh. But also, it's been a real privilege. Also, really has been, and I admire the work that you do outside of the arena or the stage. Obviously, your show is coming up this weekend. I don't know, maybe if you want to do a bit of a plug-in for the show also in terms of...
Yeah, well, I'll probably do a plug, and this will come on weeks after my show, so it's probably no good doing a plug.
tomorrow.
Like, hey, my show's this week, and then it comes on here 2029. I really appreciate it, bro. You know, the opportunity to try and plug the show. I mean, I'm really blessed that it sold out 3 weeks ago. Is it the Kiri Te Kanua theatre in town, and it's with Tap Live, but with Tim and Paul there. But really appreciate our team at Karen K Management, you know, for making it all possible. And just it's been stress free in terms of having to worry about ticket sales and all that. They take care of all that. All I do is just make sure that I got the material and make sure it's a good show for everyone. But yeah. Thanks for being allowing me to be on the podcast. But massive props to you and your wife too, you know, coming to the place here and finding out, you know, what you guys have built here in this place itself. You know, I think it's important that we also acknowledge, you know, the work that you guys do, all of you. I'm not sure what those other two guys are doing, just pressing buttons and pretending while they're on Tinder at the same time. We're all luang, fake all luang. But you know, really thankful, bro. You know, it's good that you can record these podcasts and for people to share. I mean, I'm not sure if my kids will watch it, but, you know, if there is a time that this podcast might spark up something that'll help my sons, you know, one day. You know, they might look back and think, oh, yeah, I remember Dad saying that about Mum, or, you know. So it's good. Everything is good, you know, if we all support it, you know. So all the best with... probably no one will want to come back to your podcast after this. but especially when they start 2 hours later than the schedule. No, but seriously, hand on heart, all the best, man. You know, all you guys with the podcast and what you guys are doing outside of the podcast as well. With yourself also, with your teaching and your pimping. And Tara and those other two with his mixed netball. Well, what? He played netball today, yeah. Did you get it before you came here, or just straight into the podcast? Lucky people only see it; they don't smell the podcast on the. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed it tonight. Thank you. You know, it's a great way to warm up to the show this weekend. You know, but looking forward to that. But always blessed, bro. Always blessed, and. To those who listen to the podcast, man, just love life, love yourself, and, man, try and build bridges with whatever beef you might have with other people. And every opportunity you get, if your parents are still alive, tell them that you love them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I just want to take this opportunity just to thank you. So not just for tonight, but the many years of entertainment, bringing families together, being able to, you know, the impact that families will go through so much stress, bro, lose money at the casino and, bro, get in a hiding over something, but, you know, when they get to see your show or see some sort of clip on YouTube, you're bringing families together and they get to laugh through it. And you've provided that for many years. And for us who get to watch you and the work that you do, like, we're seeing another brother that look like us, and you're being able to pave the way. But I just really honor, like, your heart for your family, for your wife and your children, trying to create a legacy for them that, that they're set up for their future. And so I just want to thank you also for the joy that you bring to many of our lives, and and just the work that you do. So from myself and my family, thank you, man. How many comedians can cross intergenerations where I've seen me and my wife and our friends laugh? I've seen my son laugh at your shows, and then my parents who are massive Pekelo and Sumel fans are laughing at you, and watching them, I was going, hey, do these guys understand English? But it's universal, like in terms of our people. So thank you. So I just want to honor you, give you your flowers now, and thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. I almost fell asleep on that one. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. No, that was beautiful, bro. I don't remember what you said. But no, thank you also.
Again, just like Charles, really grateful. I thought it was really interesting. One of the things I remember you'd said is that your confidence came from knowing your identity as a Samoan. And as someone who was raised at arm's length as a Samoan, I didn't really understand how knowing your identity can empower you, because I always thought, as an individual, I am who I am. Why does it matter knowing about my parents? But I found, and hearing more about you from you, it's sort of made me think a little bit more about, there are times in life when, as much as we want to study up, as prepared as we think we are, we're not going to know the answer. And sometimes the answer is knowing who we are. And so I'm really grateful for that lesson from you. I actually just had one last question. And you'd mentioned your parents, and, we know you as a father of 3. I was curious about what lessons or values from your parents do you see in your sons?
Oh, man. One thing in all my kids, they got beautiful hearts. They're caring. To them, everyone is family. And that's why it's important that we help them navigate through that stuff, where understand that, everyone's family, but you have to be aware and know everyone, so that they're aware of their surroundings and those who, because we want our kids to know someone's going to break their heart, things are going to happen. People aren't going to be the people that they thought they were. So it's trying to help them prepare for that without them diminishing their love for people. Just being aware, so they can still love people that they know that aren't the same to them, but it's just still being treating people equally, and non-judgmental. So, but that's what I see in my kids that I really love. They got their my parents' sense of humour, and also the oldest two. I think they're like their dad, just too relaxed. Which can be a good thing, but sometimes can be a not so good thing. But our youngest one, man, he's staunch like his grandma. Yeah. So and they're still growing. There are going to be other things that they're going to show, of traits of mum and dad, but also traits of their own parents as well. So, but yeah, it's beautiful to watch, man. As a father, sometimes I sit there and, have a bit of a cry or see something, or they'll say something that was said to them when they were little, by their grandparents. So they still remember it. So, yeah, it's special.
That's beautiful. I love that. And the reason I asked it is because you had mentioned before about the most important duty as a father. And I just think, even down to the origins of your name from your grandmother, to your second title that you got as a chief after the passing of your mum. And I think, even though we've seen you on screen, the thing that I'm most grateful for is learning about you as a father as a son. And it's such a beautiful thing to experience this side of you, and it's made me really excited about what lies ahead in my journey as a father and as a son. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it also. Thank you, bro.
No worries.
No love also. Also, thank you so much. We always give a gift. We always do a bit of a caricature cartoon of our guest. So also, this is on behalf of the Mandate team.
I thought you were going to give me another packet of chips.
That too. And also some champagne to celebrate after the show. Also, this is for you, my friend.
Oh, appreciate it.
And Maro lava soifua.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Seki.
Awesome. Thank
cool.
you so much, also. And so, Tofiga, I don't know, is there anyone that you can think of that you think, oh man, you should have this person on the podcast? This should be ideal. Maybe we'll add some value to the listeners and the viewers.
There's plenty of people, ain't there? Man, I don't know. I think I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older, but man, I'd love to have a lot of our older people in here. Yeah. You know, I'd love to have a lot of our older people, the pioneers, man. You know, people who opened doors when everyone was trying to keep it locked, you know. And now, you know, we're smashing doors down because of those people. Be good to have older people. Man, but who? Man, there's so many. But there's heaps in Wellington, you know. I'm a Welly boy, so being able to share the stories from Wellington is something, you know, that I think would be, if you had the opportunity, you know, some of the groups that, I mean, like one of the highlights of last year was the Manamoana concert. Yes. You know, that journey. You know, if you think about pretty much combining the best of both worlds, you know, we had the Signature Choir, which was combined with some of our brothers and sisters from Auckland, from Wellington up here, you know, beautiful sounding choir. These were our songs, but then accompanied by the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, you know, it was, and the vibe on that night when you had about 8,000 people, you know, it was priceless, you know. So, you know, if you're able to get Fepulea'i, Helen Monanu on, or even Tana as well, you know, her husband, even the Journey of Tomorrow people that, you know, they've been around for years now as well. I mean, there's so many of our people, you know, and that's why it's so important that you guys have got this platform, because even though this is, number 86 of your podcast, but you could go to thousands, you know. So many of our stories need to be told and need to be heard. Yeah, I mean, obviously our athletes have other platforms where, you know, but be able to have some of our pioneers and entertainers, entrepreneurs share their story, you know, and more for our kids to be able to see, wow. Like you said, also, when you see our people doing certain things, you know, now we've got, you know, kids are watching this guy, number one player in the whole world, rugby player in the whole world. He's got his own boots now with Pasifika designs. You know, kids are seeing that now. Yeah. You know, Adi Savea, you know, and who would have thought, you know, when just seeing, you know, our Sir Brian Williams, you know, people thought, wow, that was amazing, and it was. But from that now to a guy who's got, you know, deal with ASICs. You had Jonah Lomu, who had his own burger, you know, McDonald's burger. Man, that was my favourite burger too. Remember, he was on PlayStation. Burger, yeah. You know, these are our people, you know. And I think it's cool that we talk about it, but man, we've got to blast it to the world, you know. People never used to know what Samoa was, or, you know, Tonga, you know, all that, but now they know. They know who we are. We just got to share more of the stories, you know. We're not just bouncers and you know, footy players, you know, we're business people, we're loving people, you know, spread our culture. But yeah, there's so many people you can get on here, bro.
I know. Thank you so. And that's the hope, that we do tell the stories, continue telling the stories of our of our people. And so also, thank you once again. It's been an absolute privilege again, an honor also. So please don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to your well-thought comments as well. And as usual, brothers,
Refine.
Unlock.
Take charge.
What the hell was that? You think we're the Marvel, the Avengers or something?
Mandate.